Thank you, Dr. McConnell, for your wonderful talk and for sharing your inspiring journey from your undergrad days to your current role in Bayer, and also for sharing your thoughts on agriculture innovations and the recent challenges ahead of us. And jumping to the first question. So during your journey from the undergraduate days to the current role, what are the major challenges you faced during your transition?
So very interesting. Yeah, I think that as a graduate student, you're very focused on your own research and getting those papers out and getting through all of the hurdles that you have to get your advanced degree, whether that be a master's or PhD or and so when I went to work for the USDA, that was quite a change, moving into a government research laboratory, because then you kind of shift gears because the research that you're conducting is for the public good. So you're really serving the citizens of your country with your research. And so you want to make sure that you're doing the research in such a way that it will be a benefit to the the public sector. And so then moving into industry, that was also a very different kind of environment. It's more fast paced. It's more risk taking. It's more, sort of trying to fail faster. You either succeed or you want to fail quickly so that then you can move on to the next thing. There's a more unified vision. Everybody is, on the same page as to what the company is trying to achieve. And so to me, working in industry, you got to see more sort of behind the scenes, new and novel technologies that are coming out. So each of the sectors, the academic sector, the government sector, and the industry sector, they have different benefits, different sort of viewpoints, but they all, what I've come to understand is that they all have their role. A lot of times, industry has the resources to take an idea and really scale it up to to a global market, and whereas in government research, maybe we're doing more fundamental work, doing proof of concept type work, developing new discoveries and patenting them. And then, then those ideas get licensed out to companies to further pursue. And so you have to sort of see where you are within the science ecosystem.
Thank you, Dr. McConnell. And I have another question from audience about the Zero Hunger program. Is it possible to achieve zero hunger uniformly in the world? And what kind of strategies may be adopted towards this end?
Yeah, I think, the agriculture, trade, if you start studying and looking at the trade system for agriculture, the global trade that happens now, it's enormously complex. So it's difficult to have, and it's also based on the laws and policies that are present within each country. So that's a lot of what, our company thinks about is ensuring that we're compliant with all the laws and regulations and policies of the various countries to facilitate trade, to facilitate global trade. And so this is what can allow more evenly distribution of food internationally. But ideally, each country, if they had the means to create enough food for their citizens there, then anything additional would be a bonus, right? And so trying to think about maximizing food production within each country, right? And so that making that food production easier so that, families don't have to work as hard as many hours a day to grow food for their families or for the surrounding communities. And so then you can start thinking about moving beyond just sort of addressing basic hunger needs to, providing, a variety of foods and more nutritious foods. And so I do think we can make significant progress, but I think that we're going to have to embrace some of these new technologies and innovations in agriculture to achieve that.
Right. Coming back to the agriculture technologies, what are the key factors where you consider when you look into or try to develop new technologies or in new innovations? Like, for example, you mentioned about cover crop or foreground programs. So what are the key factors you consider in developing such technologies?
So I think that if we have to start thinking about plants differently. I think that plant species or plant hybrids or crops, if they're designed for the environment in which they're grown so that they can achieve maximum uh, uh, yields. Also, plants that can protect themselves from pests, from diseases. If you can easily control weeds, things like that. And also, you can have plants that generate essentially their own protection against insect pests without spraying them. So this is what I'm talking about, is that you need plants that can grow and fight off, those factors that are, constantly attacking them, right? Plants can't get up and move, right? They have to stay where they're planted, unfortunately. And so we have to think about innovations that can protect the plants, but also we have to avoid, things like herbicide and insecticide resistance, because then that means you need to switch to a different product, and so you don't want to allow that resistance to build up. And so those are kind of the challenges that we're facing now, is that we have solutions for weeds, for pests, for diseases, but we also, if those tools are used, overused, then you build up resistance, and then those tools are not effective any longer. So we have to be really smart about how we use the technology. But ideas around we're called gene editing is really one of the new frontiers in agriculture, so that we can create new species of crops that have a lot of attractive features. And it shouldn't take us 20 years to develop a new crop plant anymore. It can be much more efficient process to develop new plants.
There is another question connected to this. What are the key challenges in bringing these innovations and technologies to smallholder farmers or middle or lower income countries? And how do you tackle them or face them?
Yeah, I think that that's really, the key is empowering the small farmer to be able to take advantage of these technologies. And so I think in the past, a lot of companies have only focused on, large farms or, larger farms. And so creating ways so that these, really amazing technologies can be used by small smallholder farmers, it's going to have a huge impact on hunger. And so, I think right now that's the evolution of the regulatory system, and this is where the regulatory science piece comes into play that our team works on. And so each country has their own regulatory system, and so some of them have a very well developed regulatory system that has regulations in place for all types of agricultural products, and some are still evolving. And so one of the things that we are, as an industry, we try to do is to provide training for regulators around the world, and so that they can be kept up to date on the latest technologies and understand what the benefits are to the farmers in their country.
All right. We have a couple of questions about cover crops. So one question is, are you considering industrial hemp as a cover crop? And another one is, do these cover crops help in improving the soil health and also reducing the carbon footprint?
Yes. So hemp is a really interesting crop. I think that is up and coming, and but I'm not an expert on hemp, so I'm not sure about it being a cover crop. I can imagine it could be. It could be that there, various species of hemp that could be used as cover crop. But typically, you want there's sort of from the U.S. perspective. I'm not sure if there's differences in different parts of the world, but typically in the U.S., cover crops are used in the wintertime to essentially keep the soil in place, but you want to have a cover crop that you can basically easily kill, right? So that you don't want it to hang around after you plant your next crop. So you need something that's going to be rapidly, it's going to rapidly grow over in the late fall into the winter, serve, to hold the soil in place, which by doing that, you are maintaining the carbon in the soil, and also preventing runoff or erosion of sediment into waterways. And it also, those cover crops take up the excess fertilizer nutrients from the soil, so that they don't move into groundwater. And so they have a lot of benefits, environmental benefits. And now some farmers also grow, for example, grain crops as cover crops. And so they can actually make money from their cover crops. So if you can do all of those things with a cover crop, where the farmer gets an economic benefit and then the environment also gets the benefit, that's why in a number of states in the U.S., the farmers get can sign up for a payment if they implement cover crops. So I think that's an area of research that can really pay off a lot over time if we can keep improving cover crops.
Yeah. Previously, you mentioned about genetic engineering of crops. Do you think that this will have an effect on the food quality and its nutrient value?
Well, it can have a really positive impact. And so there's two sort of philosophies. You can ensure that a gene edited crop, the food is, essentially identical to a non-gene edited crop, or you can use gene editing to enhance the nutritional value of a crop, a food crop. One really cool company that's here in North Carolina is one called Pairwise that Bayer is partnering with, and what they've done is there's a plant called mustard green So it's something you would put in your salad, right? But it has a very strong and peppery taste that some people really don't like. And so it can be quite a strong taste in your salad. And so what they've done is use gene editing to remove that peppery taste from the mustard green. And mustard greens actually have a lot more nutritional value than a typical just plain lettuce. And so it's a way to make the lettuce a more nutritious salad that's tastier and more attractive to people, and it's essentially, one genetic change, and I've actually gotten to visit pairwise and taste both the edited and non-edited version, and it's an amazing difference in the flavor. And so you could think about looking at different kinds of crops that maybe are more sustainable to grow, but maybe they don't have a taste profile that's excellent, right? Maybe you can use gene editing to make those, whatever it may be, if it be a type of berry or a tomato or anything, you can make it tastier, and then you have a more sustainable plant that you can grow. Then another really successful gene edited plant is the pink pineapple, and that Dole is selling now in the marketplace. There's also a purple tomato that's out there that's got more nutritional value than a regular tomato. And so I think that's really where the fun part can be, is that you can see, how we can make the foods that we already have even more nutritious.
That's very interesting to know, all the new changes happening. And talking about change, we have been seeing a lot of AI tools coming into picture, data analytics coming into picture. Can you share your thoughts on how these tools might help improving our agriculture solutions or new developments or decision making in agriculture sector?
Yes, I mean, I am not an expert in artificial intelligence, but I do know that within my company, AI tools are exploding, and everybody is so excited about having access to these variety of tools for all different reasons. And what I love seeing is sort of the creativity that the AI tools have allowed our scientists, to develop things that they never could have before. And so I think that artificial intelligence and machine learning, all of these kind of things can make our agriculture smarter. So, in the field, you could have AI tools that could help farmers detect if they have a disease coming or a weed problem, or sensors that can detect, that you have some issue with too much fertilizer being applied, or these kind of things, or that you have crops that are water stressed and need to be watered, all of those kind of like in-field things. But then also you have the ability to use these tools in the discovery phase, where you're discovering new genes or discovering new ways to edit plants to create what you're trying to achieve in the end out in the field. So it's exploded in the last 3-4 years. And really the companies are embracing these AI tools to make their discovery and product development process faster. So bringing new things to market. Typically a new crop product would take 15 years to get to market, one product. And so if we can cut that in half or even more with these kinds of tools, then that means that the growers and the consumers have many, many more choices in the marketplace. And so I really see this as we're going to accelerate. Hopefully this can really contribute to solving the zero hunger